"You're black. You don't fit in here." Waitress faces brutal discrimination. Then the billionaire owner takes a stand. What if a waitress, pushed to the brink by relentless racism at her job, finally stood up for herself in the most unexpected way? Ayanna Simmons wiped a bead of sweat from her brow, her dark curls pinned tightly under a crisp white cap. At 24, she was a force of nature, sharp, driven, and fiercely intelligent, but in the gleaming halls of the Pinnacle, Atlanta's crown jewel of fine dining, she was invisible. Or worse, she was seen as less. Her uniform, starched and pristine, couldn't hide the truth. To the management, she was just another black waitress, meant to serve, smile, and stay silent. Ayanna had grown up in a small apartment in East Atlanta, where her mother, Loretta, worked double shifts as a nurse's aide to keep the lights on. "Education and hard work, baby," Loretta would say, her voice warm but firm. "That's your way out." Those words echoed in Ayanna's mind as she balanced trays of champagne flutes and seared scallops, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of trouble. Trouble in this place wasn't just spilled wine or a rude customer, it was the unspoken rules that governed her every move. At the Pinnacle, black staff weren't allowed to use the same bathroom as their white colleagues. They couldn't eat in the staff room, relegated instead to a cramped storage closet with a folding chair and a flickering light. Promotions? Out of the question. Ayanna had watched less experienced white servers climb the ranks to floor supervisors while she, with her glowing customer reviews and knack for remembering every order, was stuck clearing tables and running plates to the kitchen. The manager, Greg Harrison, made sure of that. Greg was a wiry man in his late 40s, with thinning hair and a smile that never reached his eyes. He ruled the Pinnacle like a king, his authority unquestioned by the staff, mostly because questioning him meant risking your job. To Ayanna, he was a walking reminder of everything wrong with this place. "You're good at what you do, Ayanna," he'd said once, his tone dripping with condescension. "But let's be real, you don't fit the image for anything more." He didn't need to say the rest. She heard it loud and clear, "You're black. You don't belong here." Ayanna swallowed the sting of those words every day, burying them deep. She had bigger dreams than the Pinnacle. She wanted her own restaurant, a place where soul food met fine dining, collard greens infused with truffle oil, cornbread soufflés paired with aged bourbon. She'd spent years sketching menus in her notebook, saving every penny for culinary school. And then there was Mia, her 8-year-old daughter, with her gap-toothed smile and endless curiosity. Mia was Ayanna's why. Every late shift, every aching foot, every microaggression, it was all for her. But the weight of silence was heavy. Every time Ayanna bit her tongue, every time she smiled through Greg's snide remarks or the subtle sneers of certain patrons, a piece of her eroded. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for Mia, for her mother's sacrifices, for every black woman who'd been told she wasn't enough. And yet, in the polished chaos of the Pinnacle, she felt like she was drowning. Friday nights at the Pinnacle were a whirlwind. The restaurant buzzed with Atlanta's elite, politicians, entrepreneurs, and influencers sipping overpriced martinis under crystal chandeliers. Ayanna moved like a dancer, weaving through the crowd with a tray of appetizers, her smile unwavering even as her feet screamed in her worn-out flats. She was used to the chaos, used to the pressure. But tonight felt different. The air was heavier, the stakes higher. The news had spread like wildfire among the staff. Marcus Wright, the billionaire real estate mogul who'd recently bought the Pinnacle, was dining tonight. Marcus was a legend in Atlanta, a black man who'd risen from nothing to build an empire of skyscrapers and luxury hotels. He was known for his no-nonsense attitude and impossibly high standards. The staff whispered about him in the kitchen, half in awe, half in fear. "He fired a whole management team once for serving him cold coffee," one server muttered. Ayanna didn't have time for rumors. She had tables to serve. When Greg assigned her to Marcus's table, Ayanna felt a flicker of pride. It was a small victory, proof she could handle the restaurant's most important guest. She approached his table with her usual grace, her notepad ready. Marcus was imposing, his tailored suit sharp against the soft glow of the restaurant. His eyes, dark and piercing, seemed to take in everything at once. He ordered a bone-in ribeye, medium rare, with a glass of Bordeaux. Ayanna scribbled it down, her heart steady despite the weight of his presence. But the kitchen was a mess that night. A new line cook had misfired an order, and the head chef was screaming about delays. Ayanna did her best to keep things moving, but Marcus's meal was late. When she finally delivered it, his expression was unreadable. He cut into the steak, took a bite, then set his fork down. "Why the delay?" he asked, his voice low but commanding. "What's going on back there? I don't expect these things in my restaurant." Ayanna's stomach dropped. She could have deflected, blamed the kitchen, offered a free dessert. That's what Greg would have wanted: keep the customer happy, keep the truth buried. But something in her snapped. Maybe it was the way Marcus said, "my restaurant," like he actually cared. Maybe it was the exhaustion of carrying years of slights and injustices. Or maybe it was the image of Mia, waiting at home with her grandmother, counting on her mother to be more than this. She took a breath, her voice steady but raw. "Mr. Wright, the kitchen's understaffed tonight, but that's not the real issue. The real issue is this place, this restaurant you own. It's toxic. I've worked here for 2 years, and every day I'm reminded I don't belong. Black staff can't use the same bathroom as white staff. We can't eat in the staff room. We're passed over for promotions, no matter how hard we work. I'm good at my job, better than good, but I'm stuck clearing tables because of the color of my skin. I want to be a chef, maybe even own a place like this someday, but every day I'm told, without words, that I'll never be enough." The words poured out, unfiltered, unstoppable. The restaurant seemed to fade around her. The clink of glasses, the hum of conversation, all drowned out by the pounding of her heart. She expected Marcus to dismiss her, to call for Greg, to fire her on the spot. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, his eyes locked on hers. "Go on," he said quietly. Ayanna hesitated, then plunged forward. She told him about Greg's rules, the subtle humiliations, the way black staff were expected to stay in the shadows. She told him about the patrons who clutched their purses when she approached, the co-workers who whispered, "diversity hire," behind her back. She told him about Mia, about her dreams, about the weight of carrying a system designed to keep her down. When she finished, the silence was deafening. Marcus's face was unreadable, but his eyes burned with something Ayanna couldn't place. Anger. Understanding. Before she could process it, he stood, his chair scraping against the polished floor. "Get me the manager," he said, his voice like steel. "Now." Greg appeared within moments, his usual smirk plastered across his face. He didn't notice the storm brewing in Marcus's eyes, didn't sense the shift in the air. "Mr. Wright, sir, is everything all right?" he asked, his tone syrupy. Marcus didn't sit. He didn't smile. "Is it true?" he asked, his voice cutting through the noise of the restaurant. "What Ayanna just told me, about the bathrooms, the staff room, the promotions. Is it true?" Greg's smile faltered, but he recovered quickly. "Sir, I'm not sure what Ayanna's been saying, but we run a tight ship here. Everyone's treated fairly." "Don't lie to me," Marcus snapped, his voice rising. Heads turned, conversations hushed. The restaurant, for the first time that night, was still. "I built this place to be the best, and you're telling me you've been running it like some backwater country club? Segregating staff? Denying opportunities based on race? In my restaurant?" Greg stammered, his face reddening. "It's not like that, sir. It's just certain standards, you know? For the image of the place." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Standards? You mean racism? You mean treating people like Ayanna, like human beings with dreams and talent, like they're less because of their skin? You're done, Greg. Pack your things. You're fired." The words hit like a thunderclap. Greg's mouth opened, then closed, his face a mask of shock and fury. "You can't. You don't understand." "I understand enough," Marcus said. "And I'm calling the police to investigate this place top to bottom. No one gets to treat my people like this." The restaurant erupted into whispers as Greg stormed out, his footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Ayanna stood frozen, her heart pounding. She'd expected to be fired, not vindicated. She'd expected to be silenced, not heard. But Marcus wasn't done. He turned to Ayanna, his expression softening but still resolute. "You," he said, pointing to her. "You're the new manager. Starting now. This place needs someone with integrity, someone who knows what it means to work hard and fight for what's right. That's you." Ayanna's breath caught. "Mr. Wright, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," he replied. "Just do the job. And do it better than he ever did." By the next morning, the story had exploded. A customer, unnoticed in the chaos, had recorded the entire confrontation on their phone. The video, Marcus's righteous anger, Greg's pathetic excuses, Ayanna's raw honesty, spread across social media like wildfire. Hashtags like #JusticeForAyanna and #EqualityInHospitality trended worldwide. News outlets picked up the story, with headlines screaming about racism in Atlanta's elite dining scene. Ayanna became an overnight symbol of resilience. Strangers sent her messages of support, sharing their own stories of workplace discrimination. Activists reached out, offering to partner with her to push for change. Regular patrons of the Pinnacle, the ones who'd always tipped her generously and thanked her by name, rallied around her, flooding the restaurant's social media with praise for her leadership. Under Ayanna's management, the Pinnacle transformed. She implemented mandatory diversity training, rewrote the staff handbook to ensure equal treatment, and opened the door for promotions based on merit, not race. Black staff members, once relegated to the shadows, began to shine, taking on roles as servers, bartenders, even sous chefs. The atmosphere shifted, the tension replaced by a sense of possibility. But Ayanna's journey didn't end there. The viral video caught the attention of investors, culinary schools, and hospitality organizations. A local culinary institute offered her a scholarship to study part-time while she managed the Pinnacle. A group of investors, inspired by her vision, approached her about funding her dream restaurant, a soul food fine dining concept she'd been sketching for years. They saw what Marcus saw, a leader, a visionary, a woman who refused to be silenced. 6 months later, Ayanna stood in the kitchen of her own restaurant, Legacy. The space was everything she'd dreamed of: warm wood tables, soft jazz playing in the background, and a menu that married the comfort of soul food with the elegance of fine dining. Collard greens simmered with smoked paprika and truffle oil. Fried chicken came with a bourbon glaze, served on porcelain plates. Every dish told a story, of her mother's sacrifices, her daughter's dreams, her own unbreakable spirit. Legacy wasn't just a restaurant, it was a movement. Ayanna hired a diverse staff, many of whom had faced the same barriers she had. She mentored young black chefs, giving them the opportunities she'd been denied. She partnered with local schools to teach kids like Mia about cooking, about pride, about never letting anyone tell you you're not enough. Marcus Wright became a regular at Legacy, always ordering the ribeye and leaving a generous tip. "You did it, Ayanna," he said one night, raising his glass. "You didn't just change this place. You changed the game." Ayanna smiled, her heart full. She thought of Mia, now enrolled in a better school, her laughter filling their new apartment. She thought of her mother, who'd cried when Ayanna told her about Legacy. She thought of every black woman who'd ever been told she didn't belong, and how she'd proved them wrong. Ayanna Simmons's story wasn't just about one woman's triumph. It was about the power of speaking truth, of standing up when the world tells you to sit down. It was about breaking cycles, dismantling systems, and building something better in their place. From a waitress silenced by discrimination to a leader who sparked a movement, Ayanna showed the world what happens when courage meets opportunity. Her legacy, her restaurant, her voice, her unbreakable spirit, lives on, a beacon for anyone who's ever been told they don't fit in. And every night, as the doors of Legacy open to a diverse crowd of diners, Ayanna knows she's not just serving food. She's serving hope, resilience, and the promise of a better tomorrow.